Shalom, giving all praises, honors, glory, and worship unto Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai Bahashim Machakodash. Double honors unto the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and salutations to you, Akim, upholding the testimony of Yahweh Shai in truth and sincerity. This is Jaiko about the command of Great Millstone Atlanta Church. It's going to be a quick Revelations, the 10th chapter breakdown. I'm going to run through it, and Lord willing, it's edifying. This is Revelations, the 10th chapter, in the first verse. And I saw another mighty angel come down from heaven, clothed with a cloud, which the cloud is a representation of what we call chariots, or a chariot in singular. In the Hebrew, we would call it marakaba. And what the world modernly day, they'll call them UFOs, and they'll call them spaceships. And so the angel came down, for you to understand, in the spaceship. That's what the cloud is a representation of. A precept for that is Isaiah the 19th chapter. I'm gonna get that. I'm trying not to make it too long, because I want to get through the chapter. Kind of time constraint, but I do want to get the precept. Let me just go ahead and grab this precept. Isaiah the 19th chapter. The first verse, it says, the burden of Egypt. Egypt, speaking of America. What do you mean Egypt's America? Well, nigga, tell me why there's a pyramid on the dollar bill. Why is there an obelisk in Washington, D.C.? Why is the Bank of America building in Atlanta a huge obelisk, and on top of the building is also another obelisk, which is the tallest building possibly in the southeast? I know it's the tallest building in Georgia. Why? Why does Georgia Power why is the symbol of Georgia Power a pyramid? Why when you're driving up north, coming up 75 north, 75 85 north, and between the architectural layout between the bridge, it's the Georgia Power building, where it has the pyramid, and right on top of that it's an obelisk, which is it's an angle expression between the Georgia Power building and the Bank of America building. And when you see it from that angle, it's the pyramid. On top of that, you see the top part of the Bank of America building obelisk. Why? Because this is Egypt. It says, behold, it says, Yahweh rideth upon a swift cloud. All right, and that swift cloud is what you call the spaceships, the fatherships, if I may. The fathership. It says, and shall come into Egypt. So these spaceships, for you to understand, Marakabath, these chariots, clouds, it's going to come into Egypt. It says, and the idols of Egypt shall be moved out of his presence, and the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst of it. Right, and the idols, which are the strongholds of Egypt, not only the philosophies, but the actual might of Egypt, where people put their trust in, their faith in, it's going to be confounded, because the chariots, the spaceships, are going to annihilate this place. All right, likewise with the thermonuclear missiles that would be shot on it. All right, so. So this is Revelations, the 10th chapter. It says, clothed with a cloud, which we know to be the spaceship. It says, and the rainbow was upon his head, which the rainbow represents the covenant. All right. It says, and his face was as it were the sun, and his feet as pillars of fire. And his face being as the sun represents the wisdom in which this messenger, this angel, contained, right? And scripture says, wisdom maketh a man face to shine. Verse 2, it says, and he had in his hand a little book open. The little book open is speaking of the Bible. It says, and he set his right foot upon the sea, and his left foot on the earth, and cried with a loud voice, as when a lion roareth, representing the might of the cry. It says, And when he had cried, 7 thunders uttered their voices. All right, and this is going into prophecies. Verse 4, it says, and when the 7 thunders had uttered their voices, I was about to write, and I heard a voice from heaven saying unto me, seal up those things which the 7 thunders utter, and write them not. I mean, don't write these specific prophecies. Verse 5, and the angel which I saw stand upon the sea and upon the earth lifted up his hand to heaven, and swear by him that liveth forever and ever, who created heaven and the things that therein are, and the earth and the things that therein are, and the sea and the things which are therein, that there should be time no longer. What does it mean, time no longer? Meaning there's going to be no more prophecies. The scripture says, measure the time diligently in itself. Let's get that, because it's always going to be time, but there'll be no longer any prophecies, because all things essentially will be fulfilled from a prophetic notion. Let's see. That's an Second Ezra's. Second Ezra's, the 9th chapter, in the 1st verse, it says, he answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself. How do you measure time? You measure time via the prophecies. These are the landmarks for you to understand. Where you have a timeline, which are events. You measure time with events. Prophecies are those events. It says, and when thou seest part of the signs past, which I have told thee before, then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. And that's exactly what we're reading about in Revelation, the 10th chapter. Going back to Revelation, the 10th chapter. So it said there should be, in verse 6, the latter part of verse 6, it says that there should be time no longer, meaning no more prophecies. Verse 7, it says, but in the days of the voice of the 7th angel, when he shall begin to sound, the mystery of God should be finished. See, which are the prophecies written. It says, as he hath declared to his servants, the prophets. What do prophets do? Prophesy. Prophesy what? Prophecies. He declared these to the prophets. So there's not going to be any more time, because there's going to be a new age ushered in. And that's why it says, behold, I make all things new. A new ion. A new and refurbished Reich. For you to understand. Let's see here. Verse 8, it says, and the voice which I heard from heaven spake unto me again and said, go and take the little book which is open in the hand of the angel which standeth upon the sea and upon the earth. And I went unto the angel and said unto him, give me the little book. And he said unto me, take it and eat it up, and it shall make thy belly bitter, but it shall be in thy mouth sweet as honey. And that's these prophecies. You hear about the victory. You hear about Israel being redeemed. You hear about us waking up in the landmass of our captivity, and being called the sons of the living power, the sons of God. But then, and that's the sweetness, that's the honey. But it's also a bitter aspect of this truth, of this word. You hear about the persecution. You hear that you're going to have to be hated of all men for the Lord's name's sake. You hear that some Israelites are going to have to be beheaded. You hear that this man Esau is about to institute the charagma, the MOTB, and he's going to force it upon the earth. You hear about the plagues. You hear about the great famines, measure of a wheat for a penny, and that's bitter. See, that's bitter. Verse 10, it says, "And I took the little book out of the angel's hand and ate it up, and it was in my mouth sweet as honey. And as soon as I had eaten it, my belly was bitter. And he said unto me, Thou must prophesy again before many peoples and nations and tongues and kings. And that would take place in the reincarnation of John the Divine, Yachana the Divine, which indeed was manifest unto us via the person of High Priest Arya, who is still with us today. And he has done that. And I don't believe his job and his mission is done. So that's Revelations, the 10th chapter. Giving all praises, honor, glory, and worship unto Yahweh, Bashem Al-Shai, Bahashem Al-Kakadash, the Ban Sedels, and possible great meal song. Salutations to you, Akim. Shalom, keep the faith.